Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I finally managed to get through.
Oh, oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to be able to talk to you, and it's always great to be able to talk about some brand new music from Cadaver, and it's great to see everything that's going on with the album so far. I mean, I've gotten the chance to be able to check this album out over the last couple days, and I just really love how it feels like a great continuation of the band. It feels like you and Dirk are just like meant to write music together. It's just so great to see that the great feel of Cadaver continuing to go strong in 2023.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. It's been a hell of a ride, I think, with everything that's happened in the world, and we just try to continue our creativity and basically try to push boundaries on where to go with our music, and I think we have succeeded. So it's good to hear that you think the same way.
Oh, for sure. So, thinking about that, what was it like to start writing for this album?
Well, I mean, I'm writing all the time, so it's whenever we have done something, I've always I'm kind of on to the next project. I mean, before we recorded the previous album, we had actually 10 songs that we threw away. So it's always trying to figure out something I would like to call a benchmark song, or like there's always one song that leads on to create more stuff in a certain direction. And that song for this album was the song called Post Apocalyptic Grinding, which is basically the opening track of the album. And when that was sitting there, I just felt everything super easy to write from there. And it always also has a few songs with the stronger collaboration between both me and Dirk, and it's also between us and the old Cadaver double bass player, Eilert Solstad, which also contributed with one song on the album. So it's been a very nice creative process where everybody's been involved with different parts. So it was fairly easy to make all this music. Not so easy to make it sound like it does, but you know how this.
So, going into that a little bit deeper, you mentioned that you have a benchmark for like the idea of what you want the album to be, or at least the quality of the song. Like, how do you decide that?
It's basically just based on feeling. You know, if it feels right. Music should be very spontaneously obtained, you know. If you sit around working on something that doesn't work, it's probably why it doesn't work. It's just it doesn't have the elements you need for inspiration. So I'm always trying to just figure out what inspires me most and then just go from there. It's basically feeling based only, you know. Not I'm not trying to be smart with anything. I'm just trying to make something that feels right.
Oh, that completely makes sense. And every song on the album does feel like it's meant to be together. I mean, of course, a lot of that might have to do with like the track listing and the vibes that goes into creating the album, but all of the songs on here feel like they're meant to be a part of the album.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good observation. It's also very different material, you know, so it just links very well together. But it's all obviously when you make genre-based music, I would say it's the biggest challenge is to actually try to move around what will be considered generic or things you've heard before and stuff like that. So we're always trying to push for different, you know, different ways of putting the songs together, different tempos, different everything. So it always feels like a brand new experience, which is very hard to do, but it's all you can try to do.
Oh, definitely. And I think you succeeded in that as well too. I mean, I love the variations that's going on, and that's what I feel like
Great.
albums should have rather than just feeling like every song could be the same song. I mean, I love the variations, whether it be in tempo or style or lyrical content, whatever the case is. Like, it's part of the adventure of listening to the album from start to finish is not necessarily knowing what you're getting into right away, but enjoying what you're hearing as you're listening to it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a common trap that many metal bands go into is to try to make everything sound the same, sort of, whilst the biggest influences in music for everybody in the world of music is bands with huge variation. If you listen to anything from the Black Sabbath or Beatles or Pink Floyd or whatever really huge and important rock bands there were in the history of music, what they have in common is that you never knew what you would going to get next. And it's kind of funny that that way of approaching music is not really appreciated that much in I would say in if I could call something normal metal. You know, I in the back of my head, I'm always listening to things from my childhood, which is like classical music, for instance, which is hugely very varied, and all the variations in dynamics and tempos and instrumentation is where things sounds inspired and basically exciting, and that's what we all try to obtain when we do music, to make something that feels spontaneous, exciting, and really different, but very good at the same time.
Oh, definitely. And of course, for most people, getting the first couple tastes of the album so far with the two singles that have been released, the title track and Scum of the Earth, I mean, they do not feel the same, but they fit so perfectly together under the Cadaver name.
Yeah, good. Well, that's a good observation. Appreciate that.
So, thinking about that, I mean, what was it like to decide what singles to release from the album?
It wasn't that hard actually, because I tried to always find some songs that feels like they're capturing the whole idea of the band and the new music we're making, and that's at the same time kind of pushing towards different directions, so it will intrigue different kinds of listeners to check out everything. And because we have a base core of hardcore fans, or whatever you can call them, and they are going to be happy, but what we always try to do is to introduce stuff that might lure some new listeners into the whole sphere of Cadaver, which is going steady but slowly in the right direction.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think it really worked that way with the singles and also for the videos themselves as well, too. I love that they're two very different styles, one being a lyric video, one showing off the band. And I think that's a cool way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, with all the possibilities nowadays with visuals and stuff, it's most bands should probably make songs with videos to every song somehow, because there's so many tools out there now to make things radically good. Or I mean, there's obviously some traps to go into as well, but we always try to figure out how to do things a little bit different, but at the end of the day, fitting what we're doing.
So, thinking about that, does that mean that there's going to be more songs with videos coming up in the future?
Yeah, there is one ready right now for the song called Deadly Metal, which is a cover song actually. The cover song that sparked the whole idea of having Ronnie Tekver playing guitar on the album, which the story behind that is that Deadly Metal was the name of my very first band when I was 12 years old. So I wanted to make like a tribute to the younger me, and basically destroying the whole song, because the original is a very kind of traditional heavy metal song, and I just rewrote all the riffs into our style. And I was kind of anxious to see if he even would allow me to do it in itself. So I sent it to him, and he was so impressed. He wanted to play on it. So I was like, wow, that's something else. And then he wanted to play on everything else too, which is a huge honor, and making the album also sound even more insane than it was originally intended. I was looking for that kind of vibe, but I didn't know how to get it. But he totally nailed that, so that was great.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's one thing that that really struck me about the album is particular being able to see. I mean, of course, you and Dirk work so well together, but being able to bring more into there as well, and just being able to hear more of the guitar, more of the variation that's going on there, and maintaining
Yeah.
that core sound of what the band has always been about, but just being able to add some more diversity like that on a particular album like this really worked out.
Well, great. Yeah, no, it's been a hell of a ride, as I said. I feel we just started on that, so it's more to come for sure in that direction.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. So something else that really struck me about the album is visually, as well as the album cover. It's a very striking album cover. Where did that come about?
Well, we try to do different things that other bands in, say, I mean, in this direction doesn't do. And what I wanted to do was to break up an image of me into pieces and put it back together. And we found this collage artist who's doing that, and it really fitted well with the whole idea of the album also having some old school artwork, because this is a collage, it's not made in Photoshop. And I think it's the time and age we live in now. So many things are just going through the same grinder, so things look the same. So we always try to do, be the old ball out, to do something different and make it, look different and sound different at the same time. So it's all a part of the process that we're all trying to work out.
No, I really appreciate the fact that it is a real collage because it is so easy to just try to do something on the computer. I love the fact that it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Realness is the new real.
So again with the album coming out so soon, and again through Nuclear Blast. I mean, I'm glad to see again, like over the last few years, of course, so many trials and tribulations that have happened across the world with you personally, going on with Cadaver, everything that's going on. I'm so happy to see that a new album is here. That there seems to be so much great that's going on with the band, and I imagine with the future as well too. Like you mentioned before, that you're always consistently writing. That I imagine that there's new songs on the horizon at some point as well.
Yeah, I mean, we will enter into that phase a little bit later, but we certainly have lots of new ideas. It's always coming about, eventually whenever you release something like this, in my world, this has been ready for almost a year already, so it's insane how the timeline of things just, makes things go a little slow. But that also means that we have already a lot of new ideas for a next album, which I don't know when that's going to be, but because now it's this. But it's always we never stop to be inspired. So that's going to be a different thing again, which is what it's all about, just moving forward.
Oh, definitely. And when you have that creativity and inspiration that's flowing through and you got these ideas, I mean, I'm glad that you have that great litmus test of, benchmarking of what would work good for this particular album or EP or whatever comes out in the future, just like getting those ideas and seeing what creatively could happen next. And, it's just like you had the idea of what this album could be, and then that changed as well too. And I imagine that's going to happen in the future for a very positive way.
Well, yeah, that's the only thing I know is that it's gonna be different.
Oh, definitely. So, getting back into this one as well, another thing I truly enjoy about this album is the fact that I can hear everything that's going on, and just like that great, very well produced, but still has that great raw sound behind it as well too, and just having that real
Yeah.
authenticity behind it. Like, how hard was it to get the production sound on this album?
Well, I'm really happy that we're working with Adair Daufenbach on this album as well as the previous one, because he's the only engineer producer that really understands how to capture what we're doing in the right way, and as you say, making everything sound clear as well as raw. So it's always a challenge to balance things out and try to give room for everything, because literally there is so much going on all the time here. So it's kind of some kill your darlings has been, done, but it's basically sitting there as a piece of art, which I'm really proud of. And without him, it wouldn't sound the same way. And I'm really honored that we could work together as well this time, and for sure next time as well, because he's, as I said, a perfect match for what we're trying to obtain. So he's gonna be on board.
Yeah, and I'm so glad to hear that too. And it just shows the importance of who you're working with in the band, who you're working with behind the boards, who you're working with as a label. There's so many things that
Yeah,
go into it to make sure that the band can be the best that it possibly can be. And it seems like everything
sure.
is going in the right direction when it comes to that.
Yeah, for sure. No, we're really happy at where we are at right now, and hope to develop things slowly but surely into more exciting stuff coming up in the future. So we're not done yet.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And thinking about that as well, I mean, of course, with the album just on the horizon now, like, is there anything else planned for after the release of the album?
Well, there's a few shows coming up, but as you probably know, that the world of touring has changed dramatically through the pandemic and the wars going on and all the inflation shit. So I'm not planning to do a major tour as of now because of all the uncertainty in the world. But that leaves more time to actually work creativity in the studio. So there's always things coming up, but we're probably looking at some festivals next year and stuff like that. But who knows what the future brings, really. I'm just enjoying moment through moment. And all I know is that we're going to make more stuff happening. So let's see where it takes us.
Oh, well, I'm glad if nothing else, there's at least going to be a few shows to be able to promote this album because these songs deserve to have some uh, songs played in that live setting, and that's just going to be so cool to see what those sets are going to be like and what that atmosphere is going to be all about.
Yeah, it's probably going to be based on doing things in Europe first of all. We'll see what happens elsewhere, but it's I mean, last year we played some festivals also in Mexico, so there's always possibilities. It's just a matter of festival promoters actually wanting to pay enough money to get all the shit that you need to be able to go anywhere. So it's not a mystery.
Oh, of course, but yeah, I mean, even if it is just a few shows, a few festival shows, and then getting back into the creative writing mode, I mean, it's just all that stuff being lined up in the future is great to see. But like you mentioned, it's so great to live in the moment because it's like with the new Cadaver album, waiting to hear what everyone's going to be thinking about it, and when it eventually comes out, hearing what everyone around the world is going to be thinking about when they finally get the chance to check it out and just enjoy the fruits of your labor because a lot went into this album and it clearly came out in the final product.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I'm thinking the same way, that we'll just let this monster out and see what happens.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think there's been so many great things that's been going on in the world of Cadaver now. I mean, especially again with all the trials and tribulations that have happened over the last few years, seeing this final product come out the way that it has, the great production, the great songwriting, visually, everything's so striking. It just feels great to be able to have some new Cadaver in 2023, and it's been awesome to be able to talk to you about all of that.
Well, thank you very much for saying that, and hopefully we'll make it to a next album, and who knows what else. We'll just do whatever we do and try to make it better every time. So that's our aim.
Oh, definitely. Before we wrap things up here, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
I think you've been through basically all the things I've been thinking about very thoroughly. You're a very good observer and listener, so yeah, I think you nailed probably everything. The only thing might be worth adding is that the intro track on the album features the same guy who did the intro on the first Cadaver album, Hallucinating Anxiety, in 1990. So it's like a full circle of all the contributors also coming back to doing new things. So we've always been collaborating with different kinds of musicians and creative people, and it's always a process, you know. Bands are not just the band; it's all these people around it as well, working on parts and yeah, all that stuff that makes the whole thing work. So it's always good to, you know, work with some people you haven't worked with for a long time and see where that goes to, because there's history is one thing, but it's always interesting to see where people are now and you know what can happen next. So it's who knows who else we can bring in. We always have some guests and stuff like that, which I find is very inspiring also as a musician to not only work only by yourself but with different kinds of collaborators. So that's a good way of making things moving forward.
Yeah, and I appreciate that so much. I mean, being able to look back, but also be able to look forward at the same time, being able to work with people in the past, being able to work with people in the present, and what can happen in the future. Like always constantly evolving who Cadaver is, what it can be, and what to look forward to in the future. And it's just, I feel like that's a great representation on on this album. And yeah, it's got me excited for the future as well. And it's just so cool to see that.
Cool. Thank you very much, man.
Oh, not a problem. Well, again, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I know it's a busy time for you right now and a busy press day, so I'll let you go. But I just want to thank you again for taking the time to do this. It was great being able to talk to you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Well, thank you very much. Same to you.
Thank you.